I'm Howard Toney. I was born August 16th, 1926 on Baldwin Avenue in East Marion. Went to school at East Marion, 7 years of it, and majority of my life is spent at East Marion. The school now has been torn down. East Marion Baptist Church bought it, and so it's been torn down, done away with. But I lived on Baldwin Avenue till I was about 7 or 8 years old, and then moved to First Street in East Marion. And the rest of the time I lived on First Street in East Marion. Went to Marion High, finished at Marion High School, and then as soon as I graduated from high school, I got drafted into service, and spent 2 years in it, and also 3 years in reserve. So then after that, I got back home and I got married, and was married to one lady for 40 years till she passed away. So, and then of course I've been living in and around Marion all the time, and the home that we're in now we built in 1951, and this is now what, 2013, and I'm in the same place, and like I've told some of them, they'll probably carry me out from this one because I don't have any plans of moving. Yeah, life was poor, and during that time you had very little money, very little pay, and most of the people working the plant, they subsidized what they had with gardens and raised the cow or hogs and what have you. And they made out everybody was pretty much in the same boat. And all of the kids from the village went to the East Marion school. And I guess the only really bad problem I had was the time that I had with the boy sat in front of me when I jerked his galluses off his overalls. And then the teacher came in and bent my hand over and applied a paddle to it or a ruler to it. And I guess it was a good lesson because I tried to do better the rest of the time I was in school. But my first job was running a dope wagon. I ran it the junior year and senior year that I was in high school at Marion High. And the thoughts of dope back then and now is two different things, because dopes were 5-cent soft drinks, and sandwiches and candies, and a pack of chewing gum was 5 cents. Candy bar was 5 cents. And a lot of the sandwiches were 10 cents, or a hamburger was a nickel. So things were poor, and nowadays they think of things being poor when they don't have a lot, but when you measure it up to what we've had and what they have now, it's unbelievable how much it's changed. But when I ran the dope wagon, I was making 40 cents an hour. You made $16 a week, and by the time you had any expenses at all, it didn't last very long. And even back then, you tried to help your parents out by paying even board. In fact, out of the $16, I think I paid my parents $5 a week to help them out. So families were real close then and looked after each other. And I transferred from the dope wagon into the plant and started sweeping the floor. And we were using a lot of cotton back then to manufacture, and it had a lot of dust and all in it. And a couple of us boys would sweep the floors to keep them clean. And then from that, I was drafted into service, and then when I came back out of service, well, I went back in the weave room on the same job, but I was fortunate whenever they started up Department of Plant of the Standards, or what they call industrial engineering now. I got to help start that. Myself and two others started it. And that's when it started the first time study work that a lot of the employees didn't like. But from that I got transferred to the main office. I was over the payroll for several years, and then we started to talk about putting in what back then they called computers and all, data processing. And you had a whole room full of equipment that you worked with, where now you've got everything on a laptop. And it was a very noisy job at that, because where we had our equipment in the office, it made so much noise we had to put carpet on the walls to absorb the sound. And everything was punched into cards. And then they began to change and progress and went to what they called the floppy disk. We thought they had really advanced at that time. And then of course they went to huge disk packs, and from that to core storage and all in the computers. But out of all the changes and all that have been made, I guess the size and where you can use equipment has really changed, because our first department, we had to have it air conditioned, anti-static and everything. And now they use computers everywhere, and they've got more core storage in laptops than we ever thought about having. Printers now are just very small, and back then they were probably 4 feet long and made the awfulest racket in the world when they were printing. But there's been a lot of advance made in electronics, and of course back then we didn't have the iPads and all that they've got now. There's a much more simpler life, and we thought when they made a small change that we was really progressing, but over the last 10 to 15 years, it's just unbelievable what they've done with electronics.